Yo guys, Ponchy here, and today I'm going to show you how to use your talkback mic on your Big Six. So, first off, of course, make sure that you have a mic hooked up. This is actually going to my patch bay, and then from there I have a condenser, a U87 clone hooked up, and being as that's a condenser, we are going to utilize the 48 volt phantom power. So go ahead and turn that on. Of course, that's the first step. So that way you can actually get a signal going to your mic. And keep in mind, of course, that's assuming you know about condensers. They require phantom power. If you're using a dynamic mic, it doesn't require phantom power. And also be careful because you can damage certain mics if you send phantom power to it. So the other thing about that is if you use a dynamic mic in here, like say a SM7, the Shure, or something else like that, a ribbon or whatever, then keep in mind you might need to use something like a cloud lifter, because this is the level of the mic right here, the talk level, and it doesn't really, you might find that depending on the mic you use, you might not get enough signal coming through if you're using something like a dynamic mic, like a SM7 or something like that. So that's why I use a condenser. Not to mention, for what I'm going to show you here, a condenser might be the way to go anyway. So in order to get the talkback mic working, there's a couple things you want to look at. So normally what a talkback mic is for when the engineer is on the other side of the glass and you have the musicians in another room and you're recording them, or if you're using this as a live mixer, sometimes you want to talk to the guys on stage that might be setting things up, or the musicians themselves, maybe if they have in-ears, or you just want it to go through the monitors. I'm going to be talking more about this from a recording standpoint rather than a live mixing standpoint. So again, you're in the you're recording, you have musicians in the other room and you want to talk to them. Sometimes even if they're in the same room, I find that, if we're all wearing headphones, or if all the musicians are wearing headphones, there's definitely going to be times when you're all wearing headphones because you don't want the bleed from the monitors to come through, of course, unless you have another separate room for vocals, say, for example. There's times when you'll all be wearing headphones, so maybe you'll want to use the talkback mic just to talk to everyone, because it's easier that way than having to turn around and make eye contact with someone and, take your headphones off of one ear and then talk to them that way. This way is so much easier to be able to communicate with everyone, to say things like, that was a great take. Do you want to do another one, or should we move on? Things like that. So if you use it in that way, then all you have to do is come over here to the stereo. Well, first off, you have the talk section right here. And this is basically the stereo cue section right here. So right here it says talk. You can send the talkback mic to either stereo Q1 or stereo Q2. So unless you're using stereo Q1 for something else, like some external gear, some outboard gear like I showed in my previous video, then you might as well just use stereo Q1. Otherwise, of course, if that's taken up, use stereo Q2. So in this case, we'll use stereo Q1. So that is now going to send the talkback mic to stereo Q1. And then from there, all you have to do is come over here to the headphone section and then hit stereo Q1. Now, chances are you're probably using both. If I'm doing a simple session with just one other artist, or even if it's with multiple people using headphones, usually I'm on one, and then, I'll put the artists on two, especially if I have usually I'll put a headphone amp into two, so that way I can have multiple headphones coming out of 2, and then you know, I'll be on channel or headphone channel 1. So I would just go ahead and press stereo Q1 for both of those. Now you're not going to be able to hear the talkback mic, but if you guys could hear my headphone outputs right now, you know, they'd be turned up like that. Then you would be able to hear the talkback mic coming through headphones channel 1 and 2. So it's kind of, you know, it might be kind of weird because you're not seeing anything coming out of the master. You know, you're not seeing anything coming out of the other channels. This is me with my wireless mic that I use for videos all the time. So that is not the talkback mic coming through there. So essentially, if you're using it for how I described to talk to musicians while you're recording, then that's all you have to do. So one way you can have it show up on the master here is this handy button, stereo Q1 to G comp, the G compressor, and then sum to main bus. So if we go ahead and press this, check, check. Now let me go ahead and mute this one right here. Check, check. Right now I'm talking through, ignore this light. Right now I'm talking through the talkback mic, so you should be hearing the signal coming out of the talkback mic. So, and then if I take this off and then unmute that, then I go back to talking on my regular mic that I'm using for the video, of course. That's one way to get your talkback to go just straight to the main bus. Now, of course, you could just bypass this altogether and just use this. I'm going to mute this. Check, 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 check. And then that way you would have the talkback going to the main bus. But if you just want it to go to the headphones, then you would use this section right here. So that's how you get the talkback mic working, you know, in the most simple way possible. However, SSL, or, you know, consoles in general, especially SSL though, has a listen mic compressor. That's what LMC stands for. So what that does is it's a compressor. But instead of acting like the G comp, it actually makes it so, you know, the idea with the listen mic compressor is that anyone in the room can talk and it'll pick up on the mic. So what does that mean? It essentially raises the level of it compresses it to where it raises the level so it picks up more sound in the room. So if you use that, and I'm going to go ahead and sum it to the main bus here and mute my other mic. Okay, now what you're hearing, I'm super far away from the mic. Now, here you go. So you guys can kind of see I'm super far away from the mic as opposed to where I was before. I had to be like right up on the grill for you guys in order to hear me. So the listen mic compressor, I'll even back up out of frame here. And I'm still talking towards the mic. And you can hear me pretty well. Even if I turn around, check, check, test. You know, if I turn to the side, then you can still kind of hear the mic pretty well. So that just goes to show how great the LMC is, the listen mic compressor, for using it with the talkback mic. So I'm going to go back to my regular mic here. So the cool thing you can do with that is you could use this as essentially a room mic. So for example, say you're using all 4 of these preamp channels for drums, for example. You know, and obviously that's a pretty simple setup. You know, that could be, you could be using like the Glyn Johns method, you know, not going to go too much into recording drums, but say you have all 4 of these taken up with drum mics. For example, you might do bass and snare, and then maybe 2 overheads, or, you know, any kind of configuration with those. Say you wanted to add a room mic though, you can use the 5th preamp here for the talkback mic with the compressor or without it, but if you use this compressor, then you'll get a really awesome room mic sound, and that's actually something that you know, this LMC is famous for. On bigger consoles, people would just straight up use the talkback mic as kind of a room mic, not just for drums, but maybe for guitar or whatever it may be. So how do you record that? Well, again, it depends. If you are using these 4 mics and you want to use this with in conjunction with these, then you don't want to use this, because then the only place that that's going to go to is channels 15 and 16, which is also going to include all of these other channels. So, you know, this is the main, this is a summed channel of all these other channels, a summed bus of all these others. So you don't want to use this for recording. So what you want to do is come over here, depending on which stereo cue you're using for the talkback mic, you want to come up here and use either Q1 to USB 9 and 10 or Q2 to USB 11 and 12. So in this case, since we're using stereo Q1, I'm going to go ahead and hit that. And then what you'll get, if I mute this for a sec, check, 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 test, test. Now, I'm actually talking through the talkback mic, and if you go to Logic and you set the recording channel to 9 and 10 right here, then you would be able to record the talkback mic on 9 and 10. So what you would do in Logic, of course, is, you know, you could just do mono. You know, just because this sends to 9 and 10 doesn't mean you have to record like a stereo channel in Logic. You can just record either channel 9 or 10, because this is going to both 9 and 10, so that's essentially mono. So if you can either record one or the other, or do the stereo channel of 9 and 10 in Logic, or whatever your DAW is, of course. So that's how you would record the talkback mic. Hopefully this isn't, I'm watching the levels here, but hopefully it doesn't sound too loud. Unmute that, there we go. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for you guys. But yeah, so essentially, you know, this is how you would use the talkback mic. You know, there's multiple ways to use it. Personally, I'm trying to start using the talkback mic more with the compressor, because you kind of get a cool sound. And then with this mic that I have, so this, again, this is like a U87 clone. Now it actually has different patterns on it. You know, the usual cardioid, figure 8, and omni. And then of course it has like a high pass filter. And then I believe it has a pad on the back, yeah. So, you know, a lot of options with a mic like this, of course. But, you know, if I was going to use this as a room mic, I would probably use Omni, because then that way, you know, I could pick up like the sound, the whole sound of the room. Or you could use cardioid, you know, then of course that picks up just one side more than the back. So, or you could use figure 8. So it just depends on the situation. But, you know, if I wanted to record a room mic, you know, I might want to just use Omni. So I hope that helps you guys. That should be it for now. That's how you use the talkback mic, and that's how you use the compressor. And that's also how you use the talkback mic to record. Keep in mind, I don't know if you noticed earlier, I should have pointed it out, when you have this set to USB 9 and 10. Trust me when I say it is now going to 9 and 10, but you are not seeing it on here. So don't take that as a as an indication that it's not working. That's why you know, the Big Six can be kind of confusing sometimes, because you know, you might not be seeing things on the meters, but in reality you are indeed getting signal going to 9 and 10. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. So again, if you press this in, just believe that it's working, and go to your DAW, set up a track for 9 and or 10, and then you will have the talkback mic going into it. Of course, when I flip this on, I'm sure you guys can kind of hear a change in the my voice, and that's because you're also hearing the talkback mic as well. So there you have it. That's how you use the talkback mic. If you have any questions, feel free to leave one down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.